Hello guys and welcome to episode 18 of What Detect. My name is Adam Lobo.
And I'm Vernon. Great to be back.
Yes, we had 1 week of an off session because both Li Hood and I went to China to check out a very interesting device. 2 devices. One, we are going to do a video about it, but another one is the one which is trending and really mind-blowing. And that is one of the many stories that we are going to be talking about this particular week. First of all is the HUAWEI MateBook Fold. Very interesting device. Had no idea that I'm going to get hands-on on it. You were the one who actually shared the video before I even know about it. And knowing the fact that I went to China, I took the opportunity to check it out. So we'll talk about that in a short moment. We'll be talking about the Xiaomi's brand new chipset. These rumors have been circulating for lots of weeks to months. We thought, okay, but eventually they did it. Good job, Xiaomi. And of course, since Google I.O. has just been done, because we didn't had this chat the week it was out. So we're going to be talking about that. And finally, since it's exactly a week time before we reach towards 2025 WWDC, we're going to be talking about that specific rumors. And of course, we do have the community tab this time around. Also a very interesting question which has been asked, and we're going to be talking about that. This week's question is, drum roll, let me just quickly upload this. So the question is that, although we know it's very obvious, but Syed has come up with this interesting question. What do you mainly use your smartphone for? Tell us in the comment section below. We had 4 different choices as usual: to take photos, use it for work, use it for social media browsing, and use it for gaming. Again, about 200 votes are in. Another surprising vote, another surprising thing, which doesn't really relate to the previous one. I will talk about that in a very short moment. But first and foremost, let's talk about the HUAWEI MateBook Fold, Vernon. So when you shared a video to us, it was a very interesting factor. It was one of the cases whereby I didn't think that it's going to be released so soon. Right. And before I give you my experience about this, what was your first impressions when HUAWEI released the MateBook Fold?
Actually, I was going to ask you, were you surprised that you saw, HUAWEI releasing a foldable?
Yeah, I was.
I actually wonder why it took so long.
Really?
Because I would have thought that HUAWEI would be one of the first to kind of come up with a device like that. I know it's based on, Lenovo's X1 Fold that came out a couple of years before. And also the YogaBook 9i, which has like the vertical screen. Then ZenBook obviously came out, which is really, really nice devices. I mean, very cool. My question was, who asked for this, right? Really, but in a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way, because this is literally pushing tech forward. You don't need to bring an external monitor with you. You actually really have an additional monitor with you technically on one device. So this HUAWEI MateBook Fold is 18 inches packed into a 13-inch chassis, which is really good. It's an engineering marvel, I would say. Not the first, but probably a bit better in terms of weight, in terms of thinness. It's definitely one of the better ones out there.
You're right about how it took a while for them to do this. I personally did not think that they're going to do it because, like what you said, who asked for this? But I think one of the best things about this is the fact that it's all screen. Like the Lenovo YogaBook 9i, the 9i specifically, that's what we actually got it. It was cool when you can do it, but you had the hinges in between. Knowing the fact that this is a foldable screen and it's full screen and you can literally play whatever you want in any orientation. I think the combination of the hardware and the software, especially the AI gestures, this makes it better or even perfect compared to any other similar form factors. I was shocked to see it was already available on sale. I thought it's going to be like one of those concept
ones.
Yeah. So when you shared that article and people shared videos. I said, okay, this could be, maybe it was given to them to do a review and stuff like that. So when Leo and I went to China, what happened is that we met Huawei Global because we were there with Huawei Global, not Huawei Malaysia. And we were talking about this particular device. And it was like, whoa, we really need to get our hands on this. And it's like, yeah, it's actually at our Huawei store, the flagship store. And I was shocked. I was like, oh, you mean it's there already? Because my impressions about it is that, yeah, I know they're going to be releasing it, but I didn't think that they're going to release it and it's already available for people to buy.
Yeah.
So that was one of the biggest shocking factors. And the fact that even though it's an all screen, I love the fact that they have the Huawei Glide keyboard to allow you to at least have that physical typing experience, because yes, typing it on a screen was interesting. You had the haptics to kind of feel something like how you would type it.
Of course, it doesn't replace a physical keyboard. For
so knowing the fact that there is that kind of options, probably you can get people to slowly move from a physical typing experience to a touchscreen, full screen keyboard, rather than immediately putting them out there and say, okay, you just have to use the screen. Yeah. So that is great.
But it's nice that it's engineered together. It's not something that you buy off the shelf and then try and fit into.
That's what Huawei has always been doing.
All-screen thing. Yeah.
So, like even their pencil, they have the M pencil and then they have the Huawei pen. So they've always come up with different variations based on the exact product, which is always really good. But from a software perspective, it is using Harmony OS. So
could be a deal breaker for some.
But when I tried it, it didn't feel like Harmony OS. It felt like Windows.
Okay.
So if you didn't tell me that it was Harmony OS, I would think that, okay, because it looks like an Windows laptop, to be completely honest. Right. We didn't even guess that it was going to not include Windows, because usually all the Huawei laptops have that.
Yeah.
It
what
is
about
also
software and apps and
so based on my very quick first impressions, I know like your WPS Office is in there. I didn't test out any Microsoft devices, but WPS Office has always been great because their so-called software on their tablet or even on the phone, you have a desktop experience.
Yep.
Unlike your Microsofts of the world, whereby whenever you use a software based on Microsoft, like Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel on a tablet, it's totally different than on a laptop. So WPS Office has always been very stable and very good. So I guess that's one of the reasons why we do not know where it's going to be released globally. But if they're going to release it globally, God knows whether or not they're going to include Harmony OS or they're going to make it available in Windows specifically for users outside of China.
Windows might be tough because we know that in terms of hardware, in terms of chipset, it's not going to be a Snapdragon, it's not going to be an Intel, and apparently it's going to be a Kirin chip, which is going to be in there. Yeah. So Windows is going to be a problem because it's not going to be possible for that.
So one of the questions that I had is that what chipset I used. I did ask them, but they just brushed it away. They just brushed it.
But apparently it's Kirin X90 or something like that. Yeah.
Exactly. So if it's not a Kirin, it could be an older Intel chip. You do not know.
Maybe.
But do you see them sticking to Harmony OS if they're going to release it outside of Malaysia?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think
it'll be like the first introduction of Harmony OS to global audience.
I think they're sticking to that strategy of being unified in terms of all their devices across the ecosystem.
Other than software, I think the AI gesture thing really worked very well. I didn't try the grab and put it elsewhere. I should have tried it, but only after when I came back, I said, I should have tried that.
Huawei has always done this gesture thing even with their phones.
And their gesture things always worked very well. Okay. It's always, when they first introduce it, is like every time Leo and I will struggle to get it to work. But eventually, after generation, right now we are looking at probably the third generation of this gesture. The idea of scrolling with your hand up and down was really good. The screenshot, it was so good at detecting that. But that's from a software perspective. As usual, Huawei does not disappoint when it comes to hardware because they are using a tandem OLED screen. and it has a
it does look very
3.3K resolution screen.
It does look
That's why it was so crisp and it's so nice. 1600 nits of peak brightness, okay. 3:2 aspect ratio, so that you can use it in a vertical orientation or even a landscape orientation. Refresh rate is pretty high because it's an LTPO technology, so you're looking at 1 to 120 FPS. So they didn't hold back, right? It is very thin, like what you said, and I like the fact that when you fold it, it almost feels like the Mate XT, whereby you fold it, it feels premium. It's like a book. It's literally like a book.
Right.
The hinge, the crease, not the hinge. The crease was almost invisible. That was really mind-blowing. Something that, we were very shocked to see that, because imagine a bigger device and you're going to fold it. Usually when you unfold it, you'll know, you can kind of see the crease.
Yeah.
So any smartphones, Samsung included, if at this point in time, if you have crease, I don't know what to say, because Huawei is doing a very good job, not only from a foldable phone perspective, but now even for a larger 18-inch screen. Interestingly enough is that they are using up to 2 terabyte of NVMe storage. So you know that it's going to be like
nothing less.
super fast. And yeah, I think
Where can we buy? Oh, we can pre-order now. Oh no, June 6th apparently.
yeah, so
Only in China though.
yeah,
sorry.
it's available
Sorry,
in their flagship
Malaysians.
store. And the 1 terabyte version is about 23,999 yen, which is about 3,000 over USD.
So about 15,000 here.
Yeah.
Ouch.
So here's the thing. The Huawei Mate
The
XT,
price to pay for the
it's
next gen
about
tech.
15,000 ringgit also. So if you are in this situation where you have 15,000 ringgit, it's like, okay, I want to buy a device. I can get my tax relief.
Yeah.
I want to buy a device. Would you buy the Huawei Mate XT, or would you buy the Huawei MateBook Fold?
A fold would make more sense in terms of price value. And yeah, I wouldn't pay so much for a phone.
Yeah. I'm with
Laptop
you.
makes
I'm with you.
laptop makes more
And-
economical sense.
I like the idea that when you fold it, you're not worried about the device being scratched, because there's no outer screen. So when you fold it, it is a book style.
Yeah.
So that is so good. And imagine if Apple, again, we go into that, if Apple were to release a Mac like that, sign me up.
That will cost about $20,000.
That's good. Good point.
Well, I mean, it's not about price. It's about
So you
Or
would
get
go
out
with the Huawei MateBook Fold, but my question to you is, how well is the general public gonna accept something like this? Is this? I know it's expensive, but it goes to the fact like the Huawei Mate XT is about similar price if you convert in Malaysian ringgit. If it going to be released globally, do you think that people are gonna buy this?
I think it's a niche product. Again, it's a niche product for the affluent, those who can afford it. It definitely has the wow factor. So maybe early adopters who want to be seen with the latest and greatest. I think those are the people who will kind of buy this device. Will be appealed to them. People who are forefront of technology and just want to be to have the latest device definitely would want this device. It looks good.
Yeah.
On paper and hardware specs and all that, it looks very good. So I don't see a reason why not. If
Going
you can
back
afford
going back into the software, since we already know that the Lenovo's of the world have similar style and their orientation and all, do you think that if they release a Windows version globally, that it will be accepted better than the Harmony OS?
Absolutely. I feel that's definitely, it will be an easier decision to make, especially if you're like in a work environment. Windows is far more generally accepted, right? In an enterprise or in a working environment. Harmony OS is unproven. It's new. It's unproven. It looks good. I mean, like you say, you couldn't even tell whether it's Windows or any other platform, right? But yeah, so Windows would be a common denominator. I think that's like probably the lowest hanging fruit, if they really want to compete with the other devices on there.
Especially when it comes to gaming, because we do not know what kind of games
We
are
have no idea.
available
There's
for
very
Harmony
little
OS
details, right?
specifically.
Very little
So,
details.
But HarmonyOS is a very powerful software, not only for the devices that they use, but also for the cars. So it'll be interesting to know whether or not they're going to be releasing here in Malaysia or even globally. Well, remember when the Huawei Mate XT came out, we didn't think that it was going to have a global launch, but eventually they did. And
it makes sense too. You get mass, you get volume, right?
Yeah. But it's interesting how this is already available for people to buy as opposed to a whole entire concept. But yeah, guys, let us know what you guys think of the Huawei MateBook Fold. Now, during the whole time that we're going to be talking about this, we'll be having some B-roll shots. We also have an article, like a in case you missed it article that Syed has also done. So be sure to check it out as well. The next news is based on Xiaomi also decided to go faster in terms of releasing this, because till this point, or till the point that they announced it, it was more on rumors.
Yeah. We talked about it in, I think, two episodes ago, maybe?
2 episodes ago, and we were like, oh, okay, that'll be interesting. And
we were a bit skeptical. We thought maybe next year, maybe.
Yeah. But they did it. They quietly did it.
Hats off to you, Xiaomi.
So it's called the XRing 01.
Okay, weird name, but okay.
Exactly.
I thought it was going to be like a smart ring thing. When I first read it, I thought it was.
I'm trying to understand why XRing. I'm like, why would you?
It's a new chip for their smart ring, maybe, but it's not. It's a powerful flagship chip.
It is. So
10 core.
Yeah. So I mean, we have all the numbers here, but in the end of the day, what blew my mind is the fact that it has a 6-core NPU. So we are talking about AI.
Yeah,
specifically with 44
for
tops. So they are on the AI task, number one. Graphic performance is also 16 core.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm not a kind of person who loves benchmark tests. I don't like that. I'm sure you are the same. Yeah. But based on the Antutu and the Geekbench 6 multi-core tests,
it's mind-blowing.
It's outperforming Snapdragon 8 Elite, the latest and greatest, and even Apple's A18 Pro.
I know. It's very impressive for a new chip.
And what's interesting is that they are all also doing a Huawei over here, because they not only released the chip, but they also put in their Xiaomi 15S Pro. So what are your thoughts about this particular situation? Is Xiaomi gonna move forward like the Xiaomi like 15T Pro and onwards? Are they going to be using
I think we touched on this a little bit a couple of episodes ago. And then if Xiaomi was serious about pursuing this semiconductor route of creating their own chips, it makes perfect sense, because then you control the entire ecosystem, your supply chain, and it's good for controlling costs.
Yeah.
And also ultimately pricing to customer.
Yeah.
Right? And margins, you can control that. It's definitely how Apple is playing the game, Samsung is playing the game with their own chips and hardware, software and hardware integration is going to be better, no matter what. And yeah, kudos to Xiaomi for actually taking the serious step on producing their own chips.
And even the Xiaomi 15S Pro, it's not like it's not like a cheap budget phone that decided to put it in.
Flagship,
The specs are quite amazing. 6.73-inch LTPO AMOLED with QHD plus resolution, triple 50 megapixel rear cameras with a 5 times periscope telephoto camera, 6,100 milliamps of battery.
Big battery, yeah.
Hallelujah. They are
silicon carbon, yay.
Exactly. So I like this. I'm excited for Xiaomi.
And I'm liking the price, because
So tell everybody about the price.
It's typical Xiaomi, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be sold for 5,499 Chinese yuan, which converts to about 3,005 Malaysian ringgit, which is great for the 16 gigabytes and 512 gigabyte.
3,000 over ringgit for
storage
such a
configuration.
Crazy phone, which
I know.
Yeah, and there's also the 1 terabyte variant, and that is about 3,900 ringgit. Still cheaper than many flagships.
Absolutely.
And knowing the fact that the chipset is performing so much better than the Snapdragon 8 Elite, it also makes me wonder, because you know how they have the Snapdragon Summit in Hawaii. One of the reasons why a lot of people are there is because Xiaomi is one of the many Android devices which of course uses Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset. I don't from one end, I'm thinking about how they might just go all the way with their Xiaomi XRing chipset, or maybe certain ones they would still use Snapdragon in order to still maintain the relationship. But do you think the relationship is very important for Xiaomi because of how many years they've been working together with Qualcomm?
It is important, and I think it's also important to have a backup, to have a multi kind of supplier strategy. But again, it also makes sense over the long run and over the long term for Xiaomi to pursue and just have it on all devices, all of the devices.
Yeah, it's interesting. But as of now, we do not know whether it's going to be released internationally, as usual.
Also, I mean, again, everything is based on benchmarks right now, and it doesn't always translate to real world performance. So it'll be interesting to see how it performs in the real world when you have the device in your hands. Especially battery life.
I know. The battery part is really exciting because 6,100 milliamps of battery, at least Xiaomi is using the greatest and the latest devices when it comes to hardware. Software-wise, they are using their Xiaomi Hyper OS. Not a huge fan of it, but it's better than MIUI a million times. And I think it's
a very divided camp. Some people love MIUI and some people hate it. So.
So for me, I like Xiaomi Hyper OS. This is version 2 based on Android 15. But whether or not it's going to be released globally, that is going to be something interesting. But since the Xiaomi 15 Ultra is already out, it's still one of the hottest selling phone here in Malaysia. But of course, when you compare with the price, do you think that if the Xiaomi 15S Pro released here in Malaysia or globally, it will kind of step on Xiaomi 15 Ultra's foot, or do you think there's a separate market altogether?
I think it's a separate market, different price bracket, different performance and also configuration. Yeah.
Okay, so that would be for Xiaomi, and let's just wait and see. Probably the T series. The T series usually released like towards the end of the year or so, but who knows? Maybe the Redmi devices might come up with the new chipset.
Maybe. So it's their first chip.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there'll be, if this is a flagship, then it's going to be a mid-range and a lower range probably.
Yeah.
They're working on.
It's interesting how they immediately came up with a flagship style chipset because when MediaTek released their very first chip, they were known to be the budget-friendly chipset, putting in on phones that it's a little more budget-friendly. But Xiaomi decided to immediately say, you know what, we want to go with the highest to come up with a chipset that can rival both the Snapdragon 8
maybe
Elite.
this isn't even the top tier.
Oh my
this
God,
could be
that.
It's like an Apple chipset, right? Where you have normal one, you have the Pro, you got the Max and Ultra.
That would be interesting because knowing the fact if this is not the highest
I don't think
chipset,
it's the highest.
That's interesting.
It might come out appear in a new Ultra device in the future.
Yeah, which means that they're really going to outperform the 8 Elite and also Apple's A18 Pro. That's going to be crazy. Yep. So let us know your thoughts about this brand new chipset from Xiaomi. Another surprise.
Exciting times ahead.
So because both Huawei and Xiaomi is not playing any games. They are really going all out when it comes to this. Speaking of not playing any games, give us the lowdown of Google's I.O., the announcements of the hardware, especially on Vio, which version 3, and is now available in Malaysia. So that's quite interesting. So give us a lowdown about I.O. first and foremost.
I mean, I.O. this year was, I thought, really incredible. At one stage, we thought, I think Google is left behind in the AI game. But this year's I.O. really showed that they really are at the forefront. The breadth of products and services pushing AI is incredible. And I love Google I.O. this year. They announced like 100 things. So I don't think we can cover it in the podcast. If you want, go read up on Google's own blog. Really 100 things that they launched. And one of the things that you mentioned was Vio 3, which is really generative AI that creates complete videos with corresponding audio. And we talked about this movie that was fully AI at the last episode, right? So we were wondering what was the workflow, what the technology behind it. And now looking at Vio 3, it could be actually one of the ways you could execute that.
Exactly.
And of course, like you mentioned, it's now available in Malaysia. It's accessible via Google Gemini or Google Flow, which is their AI filmmaking tool, which is really cool. And it's only previously available for subscribers to this thing called Google AI Ultra, which is a top tier kind of plan and only available in the US.
Yeah.
It costs like a bomb. It costs like 1,200 ringgit.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but now it's available if you're a Google AI Pro subscriber, which is 100 and let me just check.
It's about 97 ringgit.
97
ringgit,
about 100
70
bucks.
cents. That's honestly really not bad.
Yeah.
For the AI Pro subscription, 97 ringgit are like so much cheaper than freaking Adobe.
I know, but
So-
if you have a look at the videos that were generated by this VO3, you'll be absolutely mind blown because it's just so polished.
Yeah.
The voice syncing, the cinematography, the style is so professional.
Yeah.
And it's really unbelievable. I literally blown away when
You're
I
right about being polished because I think we are already at a point of time whereby whenever people do memes and stuff, like because of what happened in Manchester United, you can see that people have been sharing
Sorry,
a lot
guys.
of memes which was generated with ChatGPT. So even last night when me and Mo was catching up, we were looking through the memes and we can immediately tell, this is ChatGPT, this is Photoshop. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
But with VO3, it doesn't look like it was produced on a AI machine or an AI prompt.
Yeah.
So it's even scarier now, don't you think?
Yeah, it is. It is very scary. I think we also talked about this. How would this affect actors and filmmakers and film studios and stuff like that? It is going to be an issue if you look at it generally at the moment. It's very scary. Just running a prompt and looking at the results instantly come out on your screen. That's what was demonstrated anyway in the videos.
There's a huge jump of price from the AI Pro to the AI Ultra.
But I think there's a reason for that. There are also limitations. So Google AI Pro will give you about 10 videos per month to generate. And Ultra will give you 125 videos per month. And this is through Flow, which is their software. But if you're using Gemini to generate, it's unlimited for the Ultra plan.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that's the reason. Who do you think that this platform is for specifically? Do you think that it's a brand new segment where a lot of people, I want to just consistently come up with AI movies, or is this for agencies? Since, you have the experience since those days until now, who do you think could really benefit from this AI Ultra subscription especially?
I think it would be more for enterprise and agencies probably. Yeah, for businesses. That's those targeted. I feel that general consumer wouldn't be creating a movie out of AI technology like this. But maybe short videos, yes. Possibly for marketing, possibly for social media and stuff like that. So, yeah.
So that is interesting from a software perspective. Hardware-wise, there were a bunch of it as well. But I think the two main things that we can really highlight about is the Google Beam.
Yep.
So the Google Beam was formerly known as Project Starline.
Starline, yep.
They came up
I
with
really
that.
like this. This is very cool.
Yes, it's super cool. I mean, I like the physicality of everything, the idea of having the cameras left, right, center. And I think the closest experience that you could possibly get is the Apple Vision Pro.
Yeah.
But the difference is that you're not having
That's
any
an
device on
avatar,
your head. Is you are just looking at a
Yeah.
TV and it does that. You can really see the person like as though it's in a window panel or like a window pane. So that for me is cool. I would love to try that. And the second one is the Project Aura, which is the smart glasses.
Yeah.
I think a couple of weeks back, I was trying to find the brand's name and finally I found it. It's XReal.
XReal.
So XReal is this very, they've been around for quite a while doing these AR glasses, especially like, projecting screens and stuff like that. So because the Project Mohan, that headset is together with Samsung, so Google has decided to collaborate with XReal for this particular smart glasses. And of course, there's also other fashion brands because like Meta is doing it with Ray-Ban. They are doing it with Gentle Monster. which, let's be honest, has a more versatile design compared to Ray-Ban sticking to their regular kind of design. Do you think with this project Aura especially, because I feel like the Google Beam, there's not much of a competition because I think they are the only ones. Probably you go China, someone will have it. But I think from a overall market, I think this Google Beam is great. But the smart glasses though, do you feel like this could be Google's like ace in their sleeves to eliminate?
I think the Android XR glasses that was showcased a couple of weeks ago maybe. I think that goes one up from Meta because it has a display. I think that was the biggest advantage, and a lot of the reviewers and the journalists who played with it definitely agree with that statement. Meta, I still like the Meta glasses, even though they don't have a display.
Yeah.
But that leaves room for improvement. I think it will probably evolve into another product with a display. But right now, I think Android XR glasses are the ones to look out for.
I agree with
smart
you.
Glasses.
I agree in terms of the display because
can't wait to try them. I mean, we don't get it
the
here.
Meta glasses is something whereby like you have to really rely on the app a lot to a point where I just don't open the app. Yeah. I just don't open it because the idea of
you're still tethered to the phone.
Yes,
right?
and then like by the time I'm already at home, because I don't bring the glasses like all the time out, and I leave it at home because you need to charge them because battery life is horrendous. So eventually, sometimes when I see the notification on my phone and I want to click it, and then it's like you have to connect it to your, glasses. So unless that you are taking pictures and stuff, that is fine. They also have all this Meta AI and stuff like that, which is also region specific, annoying. So I'm sure if Google's going to be releasing this, they will tie in with Gemini, and it's going to make things so much seamless. And the display, knowing the fact that you can look at something, use Gemini and say that what is this. And not only say what it is, but probably to give you like a short description on the screen.
Absolutely. Exactly. It's so useful.
That is how it is moving forward. But Google did release an AI glasses before this.
Many years ago, yeah.
So what
Google
happened
glasses.
to that then? Then why didn't
I think there were
take
privacy issues, and they learned from that. There were privacy issues. Because you were capturing people's face, blah, blah, data.
It's not because they were ahead of their time.
I think they were in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very exciting times. It was like 15 years ago, maybe 2010, a long time ago.
Yeah, and also remember, Google has a habit of releasing something and next week I'll just cancel it. So
like Google Gmail was in beta for like 15 years. So.
That's a good
remember
point.
That?
Yeah. Google Gmail beta.
Whenever you see a better Google product, okay, so when are they going to can this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So hopefully,
they do a lot of things.
But I'm honestly more excited with Google Beam. We all do video calls a lot with clients and stuff like that. I know both sides needs that, but it'll be cool to experience that. And we do not know what's the price, but it'd be cool that, especially people who do a lot of video calls. That would be kind of cool. Imagine doing a podcast session with Google Beam.
Yeah,
that'd be quite interesting,
cool.
right?
We got a virtual guest here.
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg.
So it's like, you can just do it there and then. But then here's the problem though, only we can see that. It's like the audiences can see that.
True.
But yeah, it's a very good experience. I hope that, this comes soon. Another interesting fact is that, although I didn't put it in the notes here, something that again, Leewood and I experienced in China was the changing of clothes. The idea of the AI mirror.
Yeah.
So this was like almost 2 years ago, China announced it. But Google has announced it and tweaked it to a real life situation.
Yeah.
Because what has happened is that when it was released in China for China's Shanghai MWC, I think 2 years ago, when we went there, it was more like it was more cartoonish. Like you can pick it and then you can kind of see it. But this is like so real, which is kind of good.
It's absolutely mapped to your body with the correct lines and fabric.
So especially in buying jerseys, like you know how it is buying jerseys online, especially whenever they change the brands and stuff like that. So
you watched the Marquez video where he demonstrated it. It's so cool.
Yeah, it looks so real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Marquez in a dress. Wow. Yeah. Amazing.
Great colored dress. So the fella had to choose. So very exciting news in terms of Google.
So much more.
I/O. Yeah.
So much
100,
more.
like what Vernon said, because there's actually a total of 100. We do have blog post that we wrote about this on www.adamlobo.tv. But also, if you want to really go in detail, you can check out Google's own blog post, because that was quite interesting, because they really broke down, like you were mentioning about flow, things like that, which we didn't mention.
A lot of developer tools.
Yeah. Also, from a software perspective, they've also announced a new and improved Android car experience, Android Auto experience, and stuff like that. So, of course. Speaking of software, this, I guess, talking about the car and the software experience, we can do a good segue towards WWDC's rumors. So
again, we talked about this
it's interesting how we always talk about this a couple of weeks back, and then because we always have this idea of that what's going to happen if it's like this and like that. And this idea of keeping the numbers was something that I just mentioned it. I say it could be possible.
I didn't agree with you, remember?
Yes, you didn't.
Because you thought it was rumored and you believed the rumors that it was going to be that.
Yeah. Now, before we go into why you don't think so, for my opinion, whenever I wanted a script about WWDC, whenever I want to talk about it, I always go like, which version is it again? That's the problem, right? It wasn't a huge issue. I think, again, we always say this, the uncles and the aunties of the world needs to know whether or not it's new. And you did question and say like, why is it 26, for example, instead of, the falling, because it's all like big. And it's same like football, like I said, because it is at like somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like 24, 25 season, but it starts in 25 kind of thing.
Yeah.
So prior to this, why did you think that Apple was not going to do this?
Because I feel that the OS version is very tied to a device. So not everybody has a plethora of devices. So if you only have an iPhone, you only worry about iOS. So iOS 18, 19, 20, whatever. So the iterations that go with that device is really tied to that one device. You don't really care about macOS 15 or CarPlay or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So only people who are going to dub will get confused. Oh, I got 12, I got 18, got 15.
Yeah.
But in a strategic sense, when you look at it as a whole, yes, it makes sense to unify the names so that every release correlates to each other. Like you say, it could be 18 for all.
Yeah.
Right? But now that Apple is, rumored to go by year, on a year base, then okay.
It's still a rumor though. I mean, I might still be wrong and the rumors might be wrong, but...
It takes getting used to, but I think once it rolls, it rolls. It's not something that you can change anyway, right?
Yeah.
It is a bit shocking, but maybe it's to coincide with the rumored big design change.
But if it really happens, is it something you go like, man, or you're like, okay, fine.
Yeah, okay, fine. It's not something you change, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I do see a challenge with that. When you do it by year, I think the internal development team it's going to be tricky for them because it's a timeline that they have to release certain things within that year. It cannot be 2025 feature that releases in 2026. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and they always have this deadline to have timely updates and make sure they deliver on time, especially the big ones, 0.5, 0.1.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's no fallback. Like if it's iOS 18 and you are releasing an 18.5 in 2026, nobody's going to question that.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't correlate with the year.
With the year.
Yeah. So that's basically what I think.
But knowing the fact they're going to be changing the number drastically according to the year, do you feel like because a huge change is coming for all of the different softwares, or they're just going to change the name, but probably the software experience or the software is not so revamped? What are your thoughts about that?
I mean, there's this big talk about the huge design change, fundamental change in the way the UI is going to look and also the UX. So if that's to come, I guess it's a good representation of that step, that big step. Yeah. Exciting times to say it.
Exactly.
When is Dub again?
Dub is the second week of June. So we have literally one more week. Question. You know how, not all the time, Dub also tends to release hardware. So do you feel this year could be the year where there's going to be a bunch of hardwares being announced at the same time, or is this
Mac
going
Pro.
to be purely soft?
Mac Pro.
Mac Pro. Okay, so that's your...
That's something that's been neglected.
Okay.
What, 18 months?
Yeah,
More
quite
than
a
that.
while. Quite a while. Mac Pro is definitely one of those.
They could just announce it like they
Yeah.
usually do.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a release, but could be announced.
Could be a brand new chip with the Mac Pro. Like
Yeah.
the M4 Ultra was not released. The M4
Yep.
Max, yes, on the Mac Studio,
Yep.
which review coming really soon. So stay tuned for that.
Could be a Mac. Yeah.
So could be a Mac Pro. Other than Mac Pro, any other?
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
it's Dub is really for the pros, and I
Yep.
think it'll be a. There might be speed bumps maybe for other products. MacBook Pro, maybe.
MacBook Air. Usually Dub is MacBook Air, but they just released the M4.
No, I don't think it's the Air.
yeah.
I think it should be a Pro.
Could be
Yeah.
the Pro.
Could be a Pro.
But usually, I mean, based on history, they always release the Pro series towards the end of the year.
Apple
so,
display.
yeah. So that is
So
one
a
of my...
Pro-
Yeah.
There could be an Apple display.
Yeah,
if
so
they
that is
announce.
one of my wish list that I have. I do have a
Again,
list
it's
here.
a neglected product after they launched it, and then
I
it's
love
been
it.
good.
And
Yeah,
until
it's
today,
beautiful.
whenever I go to an Apple store, I get very excited with the Studio Display, and I always want to buy it, even though I have one. But I feel like it's nice I have two. But I'm just waiting for that second generation, the one which comes with a mini LED panel, the one which comes with ProMotion 120 hertz. Not because I game on it, but that'll be kind of cool. And hopefully a slightly better resolution, since we do shoot on 6K. So at least a 6K resolution, even
Yeah.
in 8K, I don't mind. So hopefully that. And so hardware, what I have been seeing is that there's also a rumored Apple games console. Yeah. I doubt it, but that could be one of the rumors as well. Like
Apple
a
hasn't
dedicated-
done one since the 90s with
Exactly.
the Pippin. So
right? So, and
really,
they-
you think that's a segment that they're going
could
to?
be, I don't know.
During
But
Dub Dub?
that's because remember, developers, so game developers can take it a little more seriously.
Okay.
But there's this rumor which start off like even last year, until now we haven't seen that, because there were bits and pieces about how the HomeKit is going to be redesigned. So I'm wishing.
Yeah,
to
you're
the
HomeKit
gods-
kind of guys.
Yes, because my whole entire Apple ecosystem is on my iPad, is on my phone, my whole house, the studio is all using HomeKit. So I'm hoping and praying to the tech gods that we might see a HomeKit smart home display.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, so there are a lot of renders online.
I'm
I'm
sure
you
seen
heard
the
about these
rumors.
rumors,
Yeah,
right? Where it comes with like a speaker at the bottom, and then you have like an iPad-like
that
screen
would be
over
kind
there.
of cool, actually.
I really hope so, and I feel like if the best time to announce this is during Dub. So because it's a brand new device. Because I think that would be one of the best things that they could do, and that's my biggest wish list. Do you have any wish lists?
Not really, but if you backtrack a bit, we talk about gaming, right? Apple seems to have downplayed gaming for the past, 4 or 5 years maybe. Because remember Apple Arcade, that was such a huge thing with the iPad Pros, blah, blah, blah. But it's kind of tapered down. Nobody talks about gaming anymore.
They do talk about gaming when
Not-
it comes to the
not-
pro devices,
not
like
so
the Mac
much,
Studio,
right?
the MacBook Pro. But you're right about how Apple Arcade has been slightly neglected as opposed to how it was when they first introduced
Because
it.
that sell was that Apple has this entire ecosystem of devices that are capable for gaming. Apple TV was actually a great game console in itself.
Yeah.
I do play games on the Apple TV with my PS controller and
Nice.
stuff like that.
Nice.
So but there isn't any stories about gaming, what they're doing with gaming, the ecosystem, any devices, So I hope something's announced during Dub.
Yeah.
on gaming.
So let us know what are your predictions at the comment section below, and just let us know what you guys think. Now, speaking of letting us know, this week's community segment was also a very interesting one. Up to 200 votes. We did ask what is your main usage for your smartphone. Of course, without guessing so much you use it as your phone, but besides the phone, Syed has come up with a question to ask whether or not you use your phone to take more photos or videos, use it for work, like your normal work stuff, like writing stuff and writing emails, writing stuff on Google Docs and stuff like that. Use it for social media browsing and also game on the phone a lot.
Where's option 5, which is calling?
Yeah, so that's it. Besides that, which is pretty obvious. But yeah, so that would be the question which was asked. And of course, another very interesting answer, which doesn't make sense. Why? I'll tell you. So 65%, Vernon, has said that they use it for social media browsing usually.
Everybody's addicted to TikTok.
But remember a few weeks ago when we asked them, there was this question, I remember very clearly, we asked, what matters the most on a smartphone? And then they said chipset. Why does chipset bother them so much if they're just going to go on social media? Right? Remember, 2 months ago.
It's
so 2 months ago,
you refresh.
2 months ago, we asked which is the most important, chipset, camera, price, software. Price also they don't want. They said, I want a chipset, 43%, followed by cameras. But now when we ask, he said, I want to use it for social media.
Because the chipset is the brain, is the core of the entire device. Your experience banks on how powerful your chipset is.
Okay.
Right? It powers your screen, how fast it refreshes, how it displays colors.
Looking at the comments, Uncle Tam, who always comments, thank you, Uncle. But you say all of the above. Doesn't make sense. We need you to vote something.
Yeah. But maybe he's right, because there isn't a very clear delineation of work and play and all that. Because we use it for so many things, right?
Yeah, but like I don't use my phone for gaming.
Same.
At all.
I don't game anymore.
So to me, I don't think it's all of the above because of the fact that
communication.
Communication is I think the reason why Syed didn't put it there is because it kind of is understandable when people use your phone to communicate. I think like these are the main usage. But I'm surprised that it's social media browsing. Yeah. I thought that it's gonna
either surprised.
I was surprised. Okay, why weren't you surprised?
Because everybody really is on social media. Look at how they doom scroll every day. Everyone, whether you're taking public transport or you're at dinner and couples are sitting.
So cameras and photos are not, cameras, videos, photos are not as important.
Maybe not as much as social media per se. You're glued to it, literally, when you're on the phone, right?
Okay. But how come gaming is only 10%?
I don't know. Maybe it's the...
I mean, you and I...
People who answered
because we are old. So that's the reason why, no. But...
Yeah.
Why do you think people don't game on their phone as much as probably a couple of years back?
I don't think so. I don't think it's accurate. I think people do game on phones.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe those who responded were not gamers.
Could be.
Too busy playing games and answering polls.
And then there's this comment coming from Nehru. He says, old phone, Facebook and video, new phone, gaming and YouTube.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense. Yeah, so I guess that's where chipset come in. And then we have Will Rivera. He says, watch videos, movies, and play games. So, yeah, I guess it's a mixed
Guess
answer.
what mine was?
What? Oh, you asked me to guess? I think yours would be, I use it for... No, I think yours would be photographs and videos. Because every time when we are out, you're always taking photos and videos all the time. Which I appreciate because it's memories, so thank you.
Cool. No, but wrong.
Work,
yeah.
Yeah. But I thought you were more of a tablet, laptop kind of person.
Yes and no, but because I'm always on the go. So work also.
I'm still a laptop guy. Even like now we use Frame.io. I can use it
because
on
you
an
do
iPhone.
creative work, right? Mostly.
Yeah.
I don't do as much creative work as I used to before. So it's really more like maybe emails, spreadsheets, writing.
So writing also, I prefer to use a laptop.
Sure, same.
Yeah. So I mean, I can write a bit on the phone. So I guess, that's it. So very interesting answers again. I was surprised, but apparently Vernon was not very surprised with that. So that is fine. And I think that would be it for this week's news and, of course, the amazing community segment. As usual, let us know if you have any questions to ask us in the comment section below. We did have one comment, which I feel it should be a segment by itself. Somebody commented on our previous episode about why don't you review Honor phones?
That's for you to answer, my friend.
I know, but we can have like a debate on whether or not brands should do that. So we might answer that question in a very lengthy way. Yes, it's true that we do not review Honor phones. What's the reason for that? A lot of people close to us, we kind of gave that reasoning. There are several reasons to it. Not that the devices are not good. The devices are good. Very powerful, great cameras, great AI. I like what they've done recently with the, you take an old picture and then you can have like the movement
like a movie,
and all. That's so nice. It's very emotionally touching. But the way it's being shown, it's only talking about that. So that's one of the things, again, where I'm not a big fan of, because there's so many other things within the phone, which is great. But yeah, we might do a segment on that. But speaking of videos that we want to do, we did a review of the Huawei Watch 5. Hands down.
Go watch it. It's very good.
Hands down, the best fitness tracker that you could ever buy. Not only it has great battery life, it has ECG. The Whoop Band 5 has ECG, but the price is crazy. This is the Whoop Band 4. Yeah. It's a very good smartwatch. It looks like a watch.
Looks like a watch, yes.
The screen is beautiful. It's so nice. If you haven't seen that, it's a good alternative to the Huawei Watch Fit 4 Pro. Because the Huawei Watch Fit 4 Pro looks more like a slimmed down version of an Apple Watch with a whole squarish design. Yeah. So I like how the Watch 5 and even last year's GT variant was so good. We finally released a CMF Phone 2 Pro video to talk about my frustration about the phone and why I think that there are certain things which was good about the phone, but a lot of things that I really wasn't happy, not very happy with the direction. So if you guys haven't checked that out, upcoming videos, we'll be doing a full in-depth review of this, the Ring, the Galaxy Ring. And instead of me doing a comparison with a Samsung Watch or an Apple Watch, I did it with another fitness tracker. So I'm comparing it with the Whoop Band, because it is one of the best fitness trackers until today. Yeah. People like Cristiano Ronaldo or the best captain of planet Earth, Virgil van Dijk, is also sponsored by it.
Agreed.
Thank you. As a Chelsea fan, he's saying that.
Agreed.
We might have a sports podcast in the future. But anyway, the review of the Galaxy Ring versus the Whoop is coming really soon. So other than that, be surprised, because we'll be also doing a video based on why we went to China. We saw something very interesting, very powerful, and a very underrated product, which a lot of people do not know about. Where even when Lihood and I went there, we were very surprised by how great the product was. So stay tuned for that. And that's it for this week. We will come back next week once again with all of the great news and the rumors that we can discuss about. If you have anything that you want us to feature or to talk about, let us know in the comment section, either in the community tab or even this particular video. With that, we'd like to say thank you so much for watching. My name is Adam.
I'm Vernon. See you in the next one.
Bye-bye.